The security camera footage was grainy, but the audio cut through like crystal. Within 24 hours, 15 million people would watch Madison Carter destroy her marriage in the most public way imaginable. The caption spreading across social media read, "Tech CEO fires cheating husband at company Christmas party. Ice cold." But nobody watching that video knew the full story. Nobody knew that Madison had taken a pregnancy test that morning. Nobody knew she'd been planning to surprise Ryan with the news at this very party, with a small wrapped box containing baby booties and a note that said, "Our next big project starts in 7 months." Nobody knew that 30 minutes before the cameras caught her ending her marriage, she'd walked into her corner office at Brightwave AI to retrieve that gift from her desk drawer and found her husband and her best friend in a position that made 8 years of marriage evaporate like morning fog. Now Madison stood in the center of the main conference room, surrounded by 200 employees in ugly holiday sweaters. Red and green lights from the decorations cast shadows across her face, making her look older than her 38 years. She wore a black blazer that cost $3,000 and carried herself with the posture of someone who'd built a $400 million company from nothing. The wrapped box with baby booties sat forgotten in her office, hidden behind her desk, where she dropped it before returning to the party with ice in her veins. Ryan Mitchell stood 3 feet away, his face the color of spoiled milk. Next to him was Jessica Lawrence, Madison's college roommate, her maid of honor, her head of marketing, and apparently the woman he'd been sleeping with for God knows how long. Jessica's lipstick was smeared. Ryan's shirt was buttoned wrong, one button off from where it should be. Madison's voice, when she finally spoke, was steady as a surgeon's hand. "Ryan Mitchell, you are terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you from the building. You have 30 minutes to collect your personal items from your guest office." Someone dropped a glass. It shattered on the marble floor, the sound impossibly loud in the sudden silence. Ryan tried to speak, his hands rising in a placating gesture. "Madison, this is not what you think. We can talk about this privately." "Privately?" Madison's laugh was sharp enough to cut glass. "You mean like how you privately screwed my best friend in my office? That kind of private? Tell me, Ryan, which was more exciting for you? Betraying your wife or doing it on her desk?" The room went dead silent. 200 people collectively held their breath. In the back, someone's phone was up, recording. That video would be the one that went viral, the one that would make Madison Carter infamous by morning. Madison turned to Jessica, who had started crying. Black mascara ran down her cheeks in streaks. "You're fired too. Human Resources will send your final paycheck to whatever address you're currently using. I assume it's not mine, since apparently you've been staying at the Riverside Hotel on the company credit card for the past 3 months." "Madison, please," Jessica whispered. "I can explain. It just happened. We didn't mean—" "Explain to your next employer." Madison gestured to the 2 security guards who had appeared at the door. She'd texted them from her office 15 minutes ago before returning to the party. She'd had just enough time to plan this. "Gentlemen, please escort these 2 individuals out of the building. Make sure they return all company property, keys, badges, laptops, and phones." Ryan's face shifted from pale to red, anger replacing shock. "You can't do this, Madison. I helped build this company. I quit my job to support your dream. You owe me everything." Madison stepped closer, close enough that she could smell the whiskey on his breath and Jessica's perfume on his collar. Her voice dropped low enough that people in the back had to lean in to hear. "I owe you nothing, Ryan. You made your choice. Now live with it. Oh, and one more thing. Don't bother going back to our house. I changed the locks an hour ago. Your things are in the garage. You have until midnight to pick them up, or they're going to Goodwill." The security guards moved in. Ryan pulled his arm away, his voice rising. "This isn't over, Madison. You think you can just throw me away like garbage? I'm going to make you regret this. I'm going to take everything from you." Madison turned her back on him, her hand instinctively moving to her stomach before she caught herself and dropped it. "I already regret ever meeting you." She walked toward the exit, her heels clicking on the marble floor. "Everyone else, enjoy the party. There's an extra $1,000 in everyone's year-end bonus. Merry Christmas." The room erupted in applause. Madison walked out with her head high and her heart in pieces and a secret growing inside her that suddenly felt like both a blessing and a curse. The video went viral by morning. Twitter loved it. Instagram couldn't get enough. TikTok turned it into a remix with 20 different songs. The comments section was a war zone of support and criticism, as internet comments always are. Queen behavior. This is how you handle a cheater. She's a boss, literally. Cold-blooded. I love it. He looks like he's about to cry. Good. Plot twist. What if she was the toxic one? Imagine being that guy. His career is over. Jessica thought she won a prize. Girl, you won a cheater. Madison sat in her home office at 3 in the morning, scrolling through the comments on her phone. The house was too quiet. Ryan's absence was somehow louder than his presence had ever been. She'd lived here for 6 years, a beautiful Georgetown craftsman with original hardwood floors and a garden she'd never had time to maintain. Now, every corner reminded her of a lie. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. Honey, I saw the video. Are you okay? Call me when you can. Also, I never liked him. He had weak handshakes and dead eyes. Despite everything, Madison smiled. Her mother had opinions about everyone and everything, usually delivered with brutal honesty. She replied, I'm fine, Mom. Talk tomorrow. Another text came through, this one from Sophia Reeves, her attorney and mentor. We need to talk. Call me first thing in the morning. Do not talk to anyone else, especially not press. This is important. Madison set the phone down and looked around her office. She'd built Brightwave AI from nothing. 8 years ago, it was just an idea scribbled on a napkin at a coffee shop in Pioneer Square. Now it was valued at $400 million. 300 employees, offices in 5 cities, contracts with Fortune 500 companies, artificial intelligence software that was revolutionizing how businesses process data. She did that. Not Ryan, not Jessica, her. So why did she feel like she'd just lost everything? Madison stood and walked to the window. Seattle spread out before her, lights twinkling in the December darkness. She pressed her hand against her stomach, flat still, showing nothing of what was growing inside. What am I going to do? She whispered to the empty room. She'd been so sure that morning when she saw the positive test. So certain that this was the next chapter, that she and Ryan would finally start the family they'd been talking about for years. He'd always said he was waiting for the right time, waiting until the company was stable, waiting until they had more money saved. Now she understood he'd never wanted children with her. He'd just been stalling, keeping her focused on work while he built his own plans, whatever those plans were. The house made settling noises around her. The heating system clicked on. Somewhere outside, a dog barked. Madison poured herself a glass of water, no bourbon, not anymore, and raised it to the empty room. "Merry Christmas to me," she whispered. She had no idea that the war hadn't even started yet. She thought firing Ryan was the ending. It was barely the beginning. The real betrayal was still hidden, buried under 8 years of lies, waiting to surface like a corpse in shallow water. Madison Carter thought she was the one holding all the cards. She was about to discover she'd been playing a rigged game from the very first hand. And now, with a child growing inside her, the stakes had just gotten impossibly higher. 48 hours after the viral video, Madison sat in Sophia Reeves's corner office overlooking downtown Seattle. The view was spectacular. 50 floors up, you could see the Space Needle, Elliott Bay, and on clear days, Mount Rainier. Today wasn't clear. Rain hammered against the windows like it had a personal grudge against the city. Sophia was 55 years old with steel gray hair cut in a sharp bob. She wore reading glasses on a chain and had the kind of face that made opposing lawyers nervous. She'd been Madison's attorney for 6 years and her mentor for longer than that. She was also one of the few people Madison trusted completely, a list that had gotten much shorter in the past 2 days. "Tell me everything," Sophia said, pouring coffee from a French press. She pushed a cup toward Madison, then paused, studying her face. "You look pale. Are you feeling okay?" "I'm pregnant," Madison said. The words came out flat, matter-of-fact, like she was discussing quarterly earnings. Sophia's hand froze halfway to her own coffee cup. "What?" "I found out the morning of the Christmas party. I was going to tell Ryan that night. Surprise him. I had a whole plan." Madison laughed, but there was no humor in it. Isn't that hilarious? I was going to give him a gift while he was literally screwing my best friend. Oh, honey. Sophia set down her coffee and reached across the desk. Does he know? No, and I'm not telling him, not now. Maybe not ever. Madison, legally speaking, I don't care about legally speaking. Madison's voice was sharp. That man forfeited his right to know anything about my life the moment he betrayed me. This is my child, mine, and I'll handle it on my own. Sophia was quiet for a moment, her lawyer brain clearly working through implications. Finally, she nodded. Okay, we'll deal with that later. But Madison, you need to understand what you're walking into. This pregnancy complicates things significantly. If Ryan finds out, he could use it as leverage in the divorce. How? It's my body, my choice. Of course it is, but courts factor in pregnancy when dividing assets, determining support, all of it. And if Ryan's lawyer is smart, which I assume they will be, they'll argue that he deserves consideration as the father of your child. It makes him more sympathetic, makes you look like you're keeping his child from him. Madison felt bile rise in her throat. She swallowed it down. Let them try. I'm not trying to upset you. I'm trying to prepare you. Sophia pulled out a folder. Because there's more. Ryan filed a lawsuit yesterday. The room tilted. Madison gripped the edge of the desk. What kind of lawsuit? He's claiming he co-founded Brightwave and is entitled to 50% ownership. The coffee mug slipped from Madison's hands. It shattered on the hardwood floor, brown liquid spreading across the expensive rug like a bloodstain. Neither of them moved to clean it up. That's insane, Madison whispered. He can't do that. He already did. And Madison, he has evidence. Emails where you discuss business strategy with him. Text messages where you asked for his advice. Old pitch decks with his name listed as co-founder and chief strategy officer. He's arguing that he was an active participant in building the company and that you've systematically erased his contributions. Madison stood up so fast her chair rolled backward and hit the wall. This is revenge, pure revenge. He's angry I fired him, so he's trying to destroy me. Probably, but that doesn't mean he can't win. Sophia leaned forward, her expression grim. Here's what concerns me most. You don't have a prenup. Ryan's name is on some of those early documents. If a judge believes he contributed meaningfully to the founding and early development of Brightwave, he could be awarded a significant equity stake. And with a baby coming, that strengthens his case for spousal support and child support. How significant? Worst case, half the company. Best case, 20 to 30% plus ongoing support payments. Madison felt the world spinning. She pressed her hand to her stomach. Morning sickness or panic, she couldn't tell the difference anymore. No, absolutely not. I'll burn Brightwave to the ground before I give him half. Sit down, Sophia said, her voice sharp. Emotional reactions won't help you. We need to be strategic. And Madison, I need you to think about that baby. Whatever you decide to do, you need to factor in that you're not just protecting yourself anymore. Madison sat. Her hands were shaking. She clasped them together to make them stop. We need to prove Ryan's contributions were minimal or non-existent, Sophia continued. We need documentation showing you did the actual work. We need witnesses who can testify to your role versus his. Bank records, email trails, everything. And we need to do it fast because Ryan is also filing for spousal support, $50,000 a month, and demanding you continue paying for his health insurance, car, and membership to that bougie gym downtown. You've got to be kidding me. I wish I was. Sophia handed her a tissue. Madison hadn't realized she was crying. There's something else. 5 of your senior engineers gave notice this morning. The entire machine learning team, all at once. No explanation, just resignation letters effective immediately. Madison's mind raced. Someone got to them. Someone's poaching my people. Or paying them to leave, Sophia said. Madison, I think this is bigger than a simple divorce. Someone is trying to destabilize your company systematically, and we need to figure out who and why before it's too late. Ryan doesn't have that kind of money or influence. Are you sure about that? Madison opened her mouth to answer and realized she wasn't sure about anything anymore. Ryan had always managed their personal finances. She'd given him access to her accounts, trusted him with everything. What if that trust had been her biggest mistake? Her phone buzzed. It was Derek Washington, her best friend from MIT. The text said, "We need to talk ASAP. Something is very wrong. Can you meet tonight?" Madison showed the text to Sophia. "Go," Sophia said, "but be careful. Trust no one right now. Not until we know what we're dealing with. And Madison, take a prenatal vitamin. You need to take care of yourself." After Madison left, walking through the rain to her car, she thought about the baby growing inside her. 6 weeks along. Still so small. Still just a cluster of cells dividing and growing, building a human being one microscopic piece at a time. Ryan's child, but also hers. She pressed her hand to her stomach. "I'll protect you," she whispered. "Whatever it takes, I promise." She had no idea how much that promise would cost her. Madison met Derek Washington at a dive bar in Fremont at 7 that evening. It was the kind of place where nobody cared if you were a tech CEO or a line cook. Everyone just wanted cheap beer and to be left alone. The walls were covered in vintage concert posters and graffiti, the floor sticky with decades of spilled drinks. Derek was already there, sitting in a corner booth with his laptop open and papers spread across the scarred wooden table. He was 40 years old, black, with close-cropped hair and the sharp, analytical eyes of someone who's spent their life finding patterns in numbers. He worked as a forensic accountant, the kind people hired when they suspected someone was stealing from them. He'd helped Madison structure Brightwave's finances in the early days and had been a trusted advisor ever since. "Thanks for coming," he said as Madison slid into the booth. He studied her face. "You look exhausted. Have you been sleeping?" "Not really. Your text scared me. What's going on?" Derek closed his laptop and leaned forward, dropping his voice. "How much do you know about Ryan's finances?" "Not much. He handled all our personal accounts, paid the bills, managed investments, that sort of thing." "Why?" "Because I did some digging. Don't ask me how. Some of it wasn't exactly legal. And Madison, nothing adds up. Do you know how much money is in your joint checking account right now?" "I don't know, maybe 50,000. We usually keep a healthy buffer for emergencies." "Try $500. Madison felt like she'd been punched. "That's impossible. My salary alone is 400,000 a year. We have bonuses, stock options. Where did it all go?" "That's what I've been trying to figure out." Derek pulled up a spreadsheet on his laptop, turning it so Madison could see. "For the past 7 years, Ryan has been transferring money out of your joint accounts. Small amounts at first, 5,000 here, 10,000 there. Amounts you might not notice, especially when you're busy running a company. But it adds up. Over 7 years, he's moved approximately $2.3 million. The bar suddenly felt too hot, too loud. Madison grabbed Derek's water glass and drank half of it without asking. "Where did he move it?" "Into a shell company called Mitchell Capital Holdings. Ever heard of it?" "No, never." Neither had I, so I dug deeper. Derek's fingers flew across the keyboard. "Mitchell Capital Holdings owns real estate, a lot of it. Investment properties scattered all over Seattle, apartment buildings, commercial spaces, even some residential homes. The company has assets worth approximately $15 million. Madison's head was spinning. "But Ryan told me he was broke when we met. He said he quit his finance job because it was toxic and soul-crushing. That's why I supported both of us for the first few years. He said he needed time to figure out his life, find his passion. I believed him. He lied." Derek turned the laptop again, showing her property records, LLC filings, tax documents. "Mitchell Capital Holdings was registered 9 years ago, 1 year before you met Ryan. He was never broke, Madison. He was building a real estate empire, and he used your money to do it." "Why would he do that?" Madison's voice cracked. "If he had money, if he was successful, why pretend to be struggling? Why marry me at all?" "I have a theory, but you're not going to like it." "Tell me." Derek hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "What if meeting you wasn't an accident? What if he researched you, knew you were building something with huge potential, and positioned himself to marry you so he could access both your money and your company?" Madison laughed, but there was no humor in it. Bitterness coated every sound. That's insane. That's movie villain level insane. People don't do that in real life. Don't they? Think about it, Madison. He quit his job right after you got married, conveniently putting himself in a position to claim he sacrificed his career for you. He encouraged you to add his name to those early pitch decks, establishing himself as a co-founder on paper. He had access to all your accounts, perfect for moving money without you noticing. He isolated you from your friends and family. He didn't isolate me. Really? When was the last time you saw your college friends? Besides Jessica, who worked for you? Madison tried to remember. She couldn't. Somewhere over the past 8 years, her social circle had shrunk to just work colleagues and Ryan. She'd been so busy building Brightwave, so focused on success. And Ryan had always been there, supportive, encouraging, cooking dinner, and managing the house while she worked 16-hour days. Or so she'd thought. He was always so supportive, she said weakly. He never complained about me working late. He said he was proud of me. He hosted dinners for my investors, helped me practice my pitches. Because you were his meal ticket, Derek interrupted gently. And now that you've caught him cheating and fired him publicly, he's flipping the script. The lawsuit isn't about getting half the company because he thinks he deserves it. It's about taking everything you built so he can sell it or control it. It's about winning. Madison's phone buzzed, her assistant calling. She answered with shaking hands. Madison, I'm so sorry to bother you, but there's a situation. The board called an emergency meeting. They want you to come in tomorrow morning at 8. What? Why? I don't know, but they said it was urgent. And Madison, 3 of our biggest investors pulled out today. They're not renewing their Series C commitments. We just lost $50 million in funding. The phone slipped from Madison's hand onto the table. Derek caught it, thanked her assistant, and hung up. What happened? He asked, though his expression said he already knew it was bad news. Our investors pulled out. $50 million, gone, just like that. Derek's expression darkened. That's not a coincidence. Someone is sabotaging you systematically. They got to your engineers, now they're getting to your investors. This is coordinated, Madison. But who? Ryan doesn't have that kind of influence in the tech world. Maybe he doesn't, but what if he's working with someone who does? Madison's phone buzzed again. Another text, this time from an unknown number. You should have taken my offer, Madison. Now it's going to get ugly. See you in court. R. What offer? Derek asked, reading over her shoulder. I don't know. I never got an offer. Did Sophia? Madison called her lawyer. Sophia answered on the first ring, her voice tight with tension. Did Ryan send you a settlement offer? Madison asked without preamble. There was a long pause. Yes, it came this afternoon. I was going to call you tomorrow after I'd reviewed it fully. What does it say? He wants 40% of the company, full ownership of the house, spousal support for 5 years, and a non-disclosure agreement preventing you from discussing his affair publicly. Plus, he wants all his legal fees paid by you. And if I say no, he's threatening to release information that would be, quote, very damaging to Brightwave and your reputation, end quote. He didn't specify what information, but given what's happening with your investors and employees, I think he has something real. We need to figure out what it is before he uses it. Madison hung up and looked at Derek. This isn't just a divorce. This is a coordinated attack designed to destroy my company and my life. Then we fight back. Derek reopened his laptop. Let me dig deeper into Mitchell Capital Holdings. If Ryan's been planning this for years, there will be a trail. Money always leaves a trail. And if he's working with someone else, I'll find that connection too. They worked until the bar closed at 2 a.m. By the time Madison stumbled home, not to her house, she couldn't bear to go there, but to a hotel near the office. She had a splitting headache and a growing sense that her entire life had been a lie. She lay in the unfamiliar hotel bed, one hand on her stomach, and thought about the child growing inside her. Ryan's child. The child of a man who had systematically stolen from her, lied to her, and was now trying to take everything she'd built. What am I going to do? She whispered into the darkness. The baby, of course, didn't answer. 6 weeks along, it was still too small to feel, too new to be real. But it was there, growing, becoming, demanding that Madison make impossible choices. Keep the baby, raise it alone. Tell Ryan eventually? Or, no, Madison pushed that thought away. Whatever Ryan had done, whatever he was doing, this child was innocent. This child deserved a chance at life. She would figure it out, somehow. She had to. 3 days after her meeting with Derek, Madison's phone rang at 6 in the morning. She was already awake, had been for hours, lying in her hotel room staring at the ceiling and fighting waves of nausea that came partly from morning sickness and partly from pure stress. The number was unknown. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Is this Madison Carter? A man's voice, unfamiliar but oddly similar to Ryan's voice somehow. Same cadence, same slight rasp. Who is this? My name is Morgan Mitchell. I'm Ryan's younger brother. I need to speak with you. It's urgent. Madison sat up fast, her head spinning. Ryan told me you were dead. I know. That's why I need to talk to you. Can we meet somewhere private? I have information you need to hear. How do I know this isn't a setup? How do I know you're really Ryan's brother? You don't. But Miss Carter, my brother is planning something terrible. If you want to save your company and protect yourself, you need to listen to me, please. 1 hour of your time. That's all I'm asking. Madison thought about it. Every instinct screamed that this was a trap, another one of Ryan's elaborate schemes. But what if it wasn't? What if this Morgan person really did have information she needed? Fine, but I'm bringing my lawyer and my accountant. And if this is some kind of ambush, I swear, it's not, I promise. Thank you for taking the risk. They agreed to meet at a coffee shop in Capitol Hill in 2 hours. Madison called Sophia and Derek. Both agreed to come, though Sophia insisted on bringing pepper spray and Derek said he'd run a background check on Morgan Mitchell first. There's a death certificate, Derek said an hour later over the phone. Morgan James Mitchell, declared dead 10 years ago. Car accident, supposedly. But there's also a birth certificate, social security number, all the documents you'd expect. If this is the same person, he's been legally dead for a decade. Can someone fake their own death and then just come back? Not easily, not legally. This is weird, Madison. Be careful. The coffee shop was crowded with the morning rush. People grabbing espresso before heading to their tech jobs. Students from Seattle University studying over lattes. Morgan Mitchell sat in a corner booth exactly as he described himself. Dark hair like Ryan's, but longer. Similar features, but softer somehow. Wearing jeans and a faded University of Oregon jacket. He stood when they approached. Miss Carter, thank you for coming. Madison studied him. The resemblance to Ryan was unmistakable. Same nose, same jawline, same dark eyes. But where Ryan always carried himself with aggressive confidence, Morgan seemed almost apologetic, like he was sorry for taking up space. Talk, Madison said, sliding into the booth. Sophia sat next to her, Derek across from Morgan. And this better not be a waste of our time. Morgan pulled out his wallet and showed them his ID, Oregon driver's license issued 2 years ago under the name Marcus Johnson. I've been living under an assumed name for 10 years, but I was born Morgan Mitchell, and Ryan Mitchell is my older brother. Here's my original birth certificate. He slid a laminated document across the table. Sophia examined it, then pulled up something on her phone, comparing. This matches the birth records I found, but you're supposed to be dead. I know. Ryan filed a false death certificate after he tried to kill me. The coffee shop noise faded into background static. Madison leaned forward. Explain. Now. Morgan took a deep breath, and his story spilled out like poison from a wound. He and Ryan had grown up in Portland, orphaned young when their parents died in a car accident. They'd inherited some money, not much, maybe $200,000 split between them. Ryan had always been obsessed with wealth, with status, with becoming someone important. He'd gone to business school, gotten a job in finance, seemed to be doing well. Then he got fired for embezzling from his firm. When was this? Derek asked, taking notes. About 10 years ago. He came to me asking for money, wanted my half of the inheritance to invest in some scheme. I said no because I knew Ryan had a gambling problem. He couldn't stop chasing the next big score, the next sure thing. He got angry, said I was selfish, said I owed him because he'd taken care of me after our parents died. And then? Morgan's hands trembled slightly as he continued. 2 weeks later, I went on a hiking trip, solo backpacking in the Cascades, something I did all the time. I fell off a cliff, 70-foot drop, broke my back, 3 ribs, punctured a lung. Should have died, honestly. When I woke up in the hospital 3 days later, Ryan was there. He seemed concerned at first, kept asking if I was okay. But then he said something strange. He said, "It would have been easier if you just died." "Jesus," Madison whispered. I thought he was just being dark, you know, morbid humor because I'd come so close to dying. But then the investigators told me someone had tampered with my climbing gear. The safety rope had been partially cut, not enough to be obvious, but enough that under stress it would snap. And Ryan was the only one who knew I was going on that hike. He had helped me pack my gear the night before. Sophia was typing furiously on her tablet. Did the police investigate? They tried, but they couldn't prove anything. Ryan denied everything, said I was paranoid from the pain medication, but I knew. And then 6 months later, while I was still recovering, I was declared legally dead. How is that possible? Derek asked. Ryan bribed someone, a hospital administrator, I think, filed a death certificate saying I died from complications from my injuries. Suddenly, legally, Morgan Mitchell didn't exist anymore. And the life insurance policy our parents had left us, $500,000, with Ryan as the beneficiary. He collected within 2 weeks. Madison felt sick. Why didn't you come forward? Why didn't you tell the police? Morgan looked down at his hands. Shame colored his face. Because I was terrified. Ryan told me if I ever revealed I was alive, he'd finish the job. He said he'd kill me and make it look like an accident, and no one would ever know because legally I was already dead. So I ran, changed my name, moved to Alaska, worked construction jobs under the table. I've been hiding for 10 years, looking over my shoulder, afraid he'd find me. Then why come forward now? Sophia asked, her lawyer voice sharp and skeptical. Because 3 months ago, I saw Mattis on the news, a feature about successful female CEOs. They interviewed you about Brightwave, and there was Ryan in the background, playing the supportive husband. And I realized he'd done it again. Found another target, someone successful, someone with money and potential. That's his pattern. That's what he does. Derek was already searching on his laptop. Do you have proof of any of this? Documents, records, anything? Morgan pulled a flash drive from his pocket. Everything's on here. My original medical records from the accident, the police report, bank statements showing Ryan cashed the insurance check, correspondence between him and the hospital administrator. I've been keeping everything for years, just in case. Sophia took the flash drive. We'll need to verify all of this. It'll take a few hours. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. I'm done running from my brother. After Morgan left, promising to return that evening, the three of them sat in silence. What do you think? Madison finally asked. I think, Sophia said slowly, that if this is true, Ryan Mitchell is a career criminal, and that changes everything about your case. Insurance fraud, attempted murder, conspiracy. These are federal crimes. We're not just talking about divorce anymore. We're talking about putting him in prison. Can we verify his story? Madison asked. I'll start now, Derek said, already plugging the flash drive into his laptop. Give me until tonight. Madison stood, suddenly needing air. She walked outside, Sophia following. The December morning was cold and gray, rain threatening. You okay? Sophia asked gently. I married a man who tried to murder his own brother. Madison's voice was hollow. I shared a bed with him for 8 years. I was going to have his child. She stopped, pressing her hand to her stomach. God, Sophia, what kind of judge of character am I? You can't blame yourself for being fooled by a professional con artist. Can't I? There must have been signs. Things I missed or ignored. How could I be that blind? Because you're not a suspicious person. Because you trust people. Because you love deeply and believe the best in others. Those aren't flaws, Madison. Those are beautiful qualities. Ryan exploited them, but that's his sin, not yours. Madison wanted to believe that. She really did. But standing on that Seattle street, pregnant with a monster's child and watching her entire life collapse, she couldn't quite manage it. The next morning, Madison woke to her phone exploding with notifications. Messages, emails, calls, hundreds of them. Something had happened overnight. Something bad. She opened her news app and immediately understood. Tech CEO's dark side, Former employees speak out about Madison Carter's toxic leadership. The article was in a major tech publication. Anonymous sources, supposedly former Brightwave employees, claim Madison was verbally abusive, played favorites, retaliated against anyone who questioned her decisions. One source claims she'd screamed at an engineer until he cried. Another said she regularly berated her assistant in front of others. None of it was true. Madison had built a reputation on being demanding but fair, on pushing her team hard but supporting them just as hard. But true or not, the damage was done. Her phone rang. Sophia. Have you seen the articles? Her lawyer asked without preamble. I'm looking at them now. There are more than one. 6 different publications ran similar pieces this morning, all published within an hour of each other, all using anonymous sources, all painting you as unstable, vindictive, and abusive. Madison, this is a coordinated PR attack. Someone fed these stories to multiple outlets simultaneously. Ryan, almost certainly, he's trying to destroy your credibility before the lawsuit even starts. If he can paint you as an irrational, emotional woman who can't be trusted, it strengthens his case that you erased his contributions out of spite. Madison scrolled through the articles, her stomach churning. The morning sickness was worse today, or maybe it was just panic. Can we counter this? Can we get our side out there? Not without revealing information about the criminal investigation, which we can't do yet. Derek is still verifying Morgan's evidence. We need that to be absolutely airtight before we go public. But Madison, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to get much worse before it gets better. It got worse that afternoon. Madison arrived at Brightwave to find protesters outside. Actual protesters. About 20 people with signs reading, "Justice for Ryan," "Stop toxic bosses," and "Believe male victims too." Security had to escort her through the crowd. Someone threw a cup of coffee at her. It missed but splashed close enough that she felt drops hit her coat. Inside was somehow worse. Employees avoided eye contact. Conversations stopped when she walked by. The atmosphere was thick with judgment and distrust. People she'd worked with for years, people she'd promoted and mentored, looked at her like she was a stranger. Or worse, like she was a villain. Her assistant, Kelly, who'd worked for her for 3 years, was packing a box when Madison entered her office. "Kelly, what are you doing?" "I'm sorry, Madison." Kelly wouldn't meet her eyes. "I submitted my resignation yesterday. I just can't work here anymore." "Why? What happened? Did someone threaten you?" "No, it's just everything. The lawsuit, the media coverage, the stories from other employees. I don't know what to believe anymore, and I can't work in this environment." "I'm sorry." She left without another word, carrying her box of personal items. Madison sat at her desk and stared at the wall. This was what Ryan wanted. To isolate her, to make her look like the problem, to destroy her credibility so thoroughly that when he took the company, people would think he deserved it. And it was working. Her phone rang. The board chairman, Robert Anderson. "Madison, we need to talk." "About what, Robert?" "The board is voting tomorrow on whether to place you on administrative leave pending resolution of the lawsuit and the media allegations. I wanted to give you advance warning. You're suspending me from the company I built. We're considering it. The negative publicity is damaging Brightwave's reputation. Clients are asking questions. Potential investors are backing away. We have a fiduciary responsibility to protect the company." "I am the company," Madison's voice rose. "Every client relationship, every product decision, every strategy session, that was me. You want to suspend me because my personal life is messy? Because my husband is a liar and a thief?" "I'm sorry, Madison. The vote is tomorrow at 10 a.m. You are welcome to attend and make your case to the board. But I have to tell you, I don't have the votes to protect you. I'm sorry." He hung up. Madison sat in her office as darkness fell outside, watching the city lights come on. Seattle spread below her like a circuit board, lights connecting in patterns only she could see. She'd built something beautiful here, something meaningful, and it was all crumbling. A knock on her door. Derek and Sophia entered together, both looking grim. "We verified Morgan's story. Derek said without preamble. Every detail checks out. The medical records, the police report, the insurance fraud. It's all real. Morgan Mitchell was declared dead 10 years ago, and Ryan cashed a $500,000 insurance check 2 weeks later. So we have him, Madison said. We can go to the FBI. We can, Sophia agreed. But Madison, if we do that now, this becomes a criminal investigation. It'll take months, maybe years. During that time, your company dies. The board suspends you. The IPO gets canceled. You lose everything while waiting for justice. So what do you suggest? We use what we know as leverage. We force Ryan into a corner, make him think he's winning, then destroy him. But we do it smart, fast, and in a way that saves Brightwave. That's risky, Madison said. Everything is risky at this point. But you didn't build a $400 million company by playing it safe. Madison stood and walked to her window. Outside, Seattle glittered in the darkness. Somewhere in the city, Ryan was plotting his next move. Somewhere, Jessica was probably regretting her choices, or maybe not. Maybe she was happy to have helped destroy Madison's life. And somewhere inside Madison's own body, a tiny cluster of cells continued dividing, growing, becoming a person who would enter a world where their father was a criminal and their mother was fighting for survival. Okay, Madison said, turning back to face them. What's the plan? Sophia smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. We give Ryan exactly what he wants. We offer to settle 40% of the company, everything he asked for. Are you insane? Madison started forward. I can't just hand him. You're not handing him anything. You're setting a trap. Ryan thinks he's the smart one, the one who's been playing the long game. But he doesn't know we have Morgan. He doesn't know we found his paper trail. So we let him think he won. We set up a settlement meeting, get him in a room with witnesses, and then we hit him with everything. And if he doesn't take the bait, he will, because Ryan can't resist gloating. He needs to see you defeated. That's his weakness, his ego. Derek nodded. I've been tracking his movements, his communications. The man is arrogant. He thinks he's untouchable. That's when people make mistakes. Madison pressed her hand to her stomach, feeling nothing yet but knowing life was there. If this goes wrong, if I lose, my child grows up knowing I let their father steal everything from me. You won't lose, Sophia said firmly. Not if we're smart about this. But Madison, I need you to be strong. Ryan is going to try to humiliate you one more time. He's going to gloat, going to make you sit there and sign papers giving him everything he wants. Can you do that without breaking? Madison thought about the past week, about losing her company, her reputation, her sense of self, about being betrayed by the person she trusted most, about the child growing inside her, innocent, deserving of a better world than this. I can do it, she said finally, because he thinks I'm broken. And people who think you're broken don't see you coming. They work it through the night, building their case, preparing their trap. By morning, they had something powerful, not just evidence of Ryan's crimes, but proof of his intent. Emails where he called Madison his golden goose. Messages where he and Jessica laughed about how easy she was to fool. It was devastating. Perfect. This changes everything, Sophia said, reviewing the files. With this, we don't just defend against his lawsuit. We bury him. Madison allowed herself a small smile. Good, let's bury him deep. The settlement meeting was set for 2 p.m. the following Tuesday in Madison's office at Brightwave. Ryan had insisted on that location. He wanted the psychological advantage of making Madison surrender on her own territory. But Madison had advantages too. Her office was wired for recording, legal in Washington state, as long as one party consented. Madison was definitely consenting. The morning of the meeting, Madison stood in her bathroom staring at her reflection. She looked pale, exhausted, older than her 38 years. The stress and morning sickness had stolen weight from her face, making her cheekbones sharp and her eyes hollow. She pressed her hand to her stomach, still flat, still hiding the secret growing inside. 10 weeks along now. Soon she'd start showing. Soon everyone would know. But not today. Today she just had to survive. Sophia, Derek, and Morgan arrived first. Morgan looked nervous. He hadn't seen his brother in 10 years. You don't have to be here, Madison told him. We can do this without you. No, Morgan said firmly. I need to face him. I've been running for too long. It ends today. At exactly 2 p.m., Ryan walked in. He wasn't alone. He brought his lawyer, a stern-faced woman named Patricia Green, who had a reputation for winning ugly cases through sheer aggression, and he brought Jessica. Madison hadn't been expecting Jessica. The betrayal, which had faded into background noise over the past intense weeks, suddenly felt fresh and sharp again. Jessica looked terrible, thinner, pale, with dark circles under her eyes. Good, Madison thought viciously. I hope you haven't slept. I hope every night you remember what you did. Hello, Madison, Ryan said, smiling that warm, familiar smile that used to make her feel safe. Now it just looked predatory. Thank you for being reasonable about this. I know it's been difficult. Let's just get this over with, Madison said. She sounded tired, defeated, exactly what Ryan wanted to hear. They sat around the conference table. Patricia Green pulled out settlement documents. This is fairly straightforward, Patricia said in her clipped, professional voice. Mr. Mitchell receives 40% equity in Brightwave AI, full ownership of the marital home, spousal support of $20,000 per month for 5 years, and both parties sign non-disclosure agreements preventing discussion of the marriage or this settlement. Additionally, Mrs. Carter will pay all legal fees incurred by Mr. Mitchell in this matter. And the lawsuit gets dropped, Sophia added. Of course. Once the settlement is executed and the equity transfer is complete, all legal action ceases. Madison picked up the documents and started reading. Ryan watched her with barely concealed glee, his leg bouncing under the table with excitement. You're making the right choice, and he said, this way we both get something. You keep the company, mostly. I get compensated for my contributions. Everyone wins. Your contributions, Madison repeated flatly, not looking up from the papers. Yes. I know you always like taking all the credit, but we both know I was instrumental in Brightwave's early success. The strategy sessions, the investor meetings, the business planning. I did all of that. Madison looked up slowly. Did you, though? Ryan's smile faltered. What? I'm just asking. Did you actually do any of that? Or did you just sit in meetings while I did the work? Madison, Sophia said with false warning in her tone, playing her part. Let's stay focused on the settlement. But Madison ignored her. Because I've been thinking about it, trying to remember a single meaningful contribution you made to Brightwave. And I can't think of one. You were there, sure, but you didn't actually do anything. Ryan's face darkened. That's not true. I quit my job to support you. You were fired from your job for embezzling, Madison said calmly. Then you pretended you quit to help me. The room went silent. Jessica shifted uncomfortably in her seat, clearly not expecting this confrontation. Patricia Green spoke up sharply. Excuse me, but these personal attacks are not productive. Can we please focus on... Oh, we're going to focus, Madison interrupted. But first I want Ryan to admit the truth. Not for any legal reason, not for the settlement, just because I deserve to hear him say it. Say what? Ryan asked, his voice tight with tension and anger. That you never loved me, that I was always just a mark, a target, someone with money and potential that you could exploit. Ryan stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed, an ugly, harsh sound that filled the room with venom. Fine. You want the truth? Yes, Madison, I researched you before we accidentally met at that coffee shop. I knew you were building something interesting. I knew you came from family money. I knew you were the kind of naive, trusting person who would believe a sob story about a toxic job and finding yourself. I played you perfectly. Jessica made a small sound, shock or regret. Madison couldn't tell and didn't care. The affair was planned too, Madison said. It wasn't a question. Obviously, I needed you to fire me publicly so I could play the victim. You made it so easy. One staged affair and you went nuclear. Fired both of us in front of the whole company, just like I knew you would. You're so predictable, Madison. So emotional, so easy to manipulate. And the investors pulling out, the employees quitting. Ryan leaned back, confident now, enjoying his moment of triumph. All me. I've been building leverage for years. You thought you were so smart, building your little tech company. You had no idea I was building an empire right under your nose. Mitchell Capital Holdings. Ring any bells? How do you know about that? Ryan's smile disappeared, replaced by sudden wariness. Because I'm not as stupid as you think I am. I know about the shell companies, the real estate portfolio, the fact that you've been stealing from me for 7 years. Patricia Green stood up quickly. My client does not have to answer these questions. Ryan, I strongly advise you to stop talking immediately. But Ryan was too angry now, too arrogant, too invested in his victory to stop. You can't prove any of that, and it doesn't matter. By the end of today, I own 40% of your company. In 6 months, when the IPO happens, I'll be worth $200 million. You played corporate CEO while I played the long game. I won. Did you? Madison asked quietly. She nodded at Derek. Derek pressed a button on his laptop. The large screens in Madison's office came to life, displaying documents, emails, financial records, photographs. Years of evidence appeared like an accusation. What is this? Ryan demanded, his face going pale. This, Madison said, gesturing to Morgan, who stood from where he'd been sitting quietly in the corner, is your brother, the one you tried to murder, the one whose death you faked so you could steal his life insurance. Surprise, Ryan. He's alive. Ryan's face went white as paper. He stared at Morgan like he was seeing a ghost, which in a way he was. That's impossible, Ryan whispered. You're dead. I saw the death certificate. He stopped himself, but too late. You filed the death certificate, Morgan said quietly, his voice steady despite his shaking hands. After you cut my climbing rope and tried to kill me. But I survived, Ryan, and I've been watching you for 10 years, waiting for the right moment to stop you. This is insane, Ryan sputtered, turning to his lawyer. They're harassing me. This meeting is over. Not yet, Sophia said calmly. She pulled out a thick folder and slid it across the table to Patricia Green. This is evidence of insurance fraud, wire fraud, embezzlement, attempted murder, and conspiracy. We have emails where Ryan discusses the Madison Project. We have recordings of phone calls where he brags about manipulating her. We have text messages with Jessica planning the affair. We have financial records showing systematic theft over 7 years. And we have testimony from his brother about the attempted murder. Patricia Green's hands trembled as she opened the folder. Her face went from confident to horrified as she read. Ryan, she said slowly, carefully, did you know about any of this evidence? It's all lies, Ryan said, but his voice shook. They're making it up to discredit me. Really? Madison interrupted. Because that's your email address on those messages. That's your phone number on those call logs. That's your signature on those insurance documents. Are you saying someone else did all of this using your identity? Ryan looked trapped, cornered. For the first time since Madison had met him 8 years ago, she saw real fear in his eyes. What do you want? He finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Justice, Madison said simply. You played a long game, Ryan. So did I. While you were busy gloating and planning your victory lap, I was building a case against you. And now I have you. You can't use any of this. It's illegally obtained evidence. Some of it, Sophia admitted casually, but enough is legal to destroy you. We have Morgan's testimony. We have public financial records. We have the insurance fraud. That alone is enough to put you in federal prison for 10 years. And Ryan, I filed the criminal complaint this morning. The FBI is very interested in talking to you. Ryan stood up so fast his chair fell over backward with a crash. You bitch. You conniving, manipulative bitch. Careful, Derek said, pointing to a camera mounted discreetly in the corner. We're recording all of this. Ryan's hands clenched into fists. Madison saw the violence in his eyes, the rage barely contained. She'd never seen him like this before, or maybe she had and just hadn't recognized it. This isn't over, Ryan hissed. You think you've won? You lost everything. The board is removing you tomorrow. The investors are gone. Your reputation is destroyed. You might beat me at court, but you still lose Brightwave. You lose everything that matters to you. Madison stood slowly, pressing her hands flat on the conference table. You're right about one thing. I did lose Brightwave. I sold it. The room went silent. What? Ryan's voice was barely a whisper. I sold the company 6 weeks ago to a private equity firm. They paid $200 million. The deal closed last week. I'm no longer the majority owner. I'm now a minority shareholder and founder emeritus with a 10-year consulting contract. Ryan stared at her, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Your lawsuit? Madison continued. Worthless. You can't claim equity in a company I don't own. Your settlement demand? Meaningless. There's nothing to settle, and your grand plan to humiliate me and take everything I built? Failed completely. Patricia Green was frantically reading documents on her tablet. She's right, Ryan. The sale is public record, filed with the SEC. You have no case anymore. But the house, Ryan said desperately. I own the house. I own the property. The house you bought with embezzled money, Madison said, which makes it a criminal asset subject to seizure and forfeiture. You're going to lose that too. The door to Madison's office opened. 2 FBI agents in dark suits entered, badges already out. Ryan Mitchell, one of them, said, "We have a warrant for your arrest on charges of wire fraud, insurance fraud, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit fraud. You have the right to remain silent." As they handcuffed him, Ryan looked at Madison with pure hatred. "You haven't won," he spat. "You lost your company. You lost everything. You're nothing now." Madison stepped close to him, close enough that only he could hear her whisper, "I'd rather be nothing than be anything like you. And Ryan, I'm pregnant. But don't worry, this child will never know what a monster their father is. I'll make sure of that." Ryan's face went white, then red. "You can't. I have rights." "You forfeited your rights," Madison said coldly. "You'll be lucky if you ever see daylight again, let alone meet your child." They led him away. Jessica was crying, mascara running down her face in black streams. Patricia Green was packing her briefcase like she couldn't get out of the room fast enough, already calculating how to distance herself from this disaster. After they left, Madison sat down heavily. Her hands were shaking, adrenaline and relief and exhaustion all hitting at once. "You did it," Sophia said quietly. "You actually did it." "Did I?" Madison asked. Her voice sounded hollow to her own ears. Ryan was right about one thing. I don't have Brightwave anymore. I don't have my reputation. I don't have much of anything. "You have something better," Morgan said. "You have your integrity, you have your freedom, and you have a future that's yours to define." Madison looked at him, this man who'd been hiding for 10 years, who'd risked everything to help a stranger, who'd faced his brother's evil and refused to let it win. "Thank you," she said. "I couldn't have done this without you." "What are you going to do now?" Derek asked gently. Madison pressed her hand to her stomach, feeling the secret life there. "I don't know, but for the first time in a long time, I get to decide for myself. No Ryan, no board, no one else's agenda. Just mine. And my baby's." It wasn't the victory she'd imagined. It was messy and painful and incomplete. She'd lost her company, the thing she'd poured 8 years of her life into building, but she'd won something more important. She'd won her freedom. She'd won the right to define her own future. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. The news cycle exploded. Within hours of Ryan's arrest, every tech publication, every business news channel, every social media platform was covering the story. The narrative flipped so fast it gave Madison whiplash. Tech CEO Madison Cardin exposes husband's decade-long criminal enterprise. From viral firing to federal arrest, the Madison Carter story. How one woman took down a con artist who tried to steal her company. Suddenly, Madison wasn't the villain anymore. She was the hero, the survivor who fought back, the CEO who exposed a criminal, the woman who refused to be destroyed. But Madison barely paid attention to any of it. She was too busy being pregnant and exhausted and trying to figure out what came next. The morning after Ryan's arrest, Madison sat in Sophia's office, staring at paperwork that would finalize the legal separation and begin divorce proceedings. "You don't have to make any decisions about the pregnancy right now," Sophia said gently. "Take your time. Think about what you want." "I want to keep the baby," Madison said. The words came out firm, certain. "I know that's complicated and messy and everyone will have opinions. But this child is innocent. This child deserves a chance at life, even if their father is a monster." "Okay," Sophia said simply. "Then we make sure you're protected. Legally, financially, emotionally, whatever you need. Ryan will fight for custody eventually, won't he, even from prison? He can try, but given his criminal conviction and the circumstances, no judge is going to grant him unsupervised access. You'll have full custody. He might get supervised visitation eventually, if you allow it. But that's years away and entirely your decision. Madison signed the papers with a steady hand. Madison Carter was officially filing for divorce. Her marriage to Ryan Mitchell, which had lasted 8 years, would be legally dissolved within 6 months. 8 years. It felt like a lifetime and like no time at all. Her phone buzzed, her mother calling. "Hi, Mom. I'm flying up tomorrow," her mother said without preamble. "Don't argue. You need someone with you, and I'm coming." "Mom, you don't have to. I'm your mother. You're going through a divorce," and she paused. "Honey, I saw the court documents, the leaked ones. Are you pregnant?" Madison closed her eyes. Of course the documents leaked. Everything leaked in the age of the internet. "Yes." "Then I'm definitely coming. You need your mother. Also, I want to be there when you tell that bastard he's going to be a grandfather from prison. Can I be there for that?" "Please say I can be there for that." Despite everything, Madison laughed. "You're terrible. I'm protective. There's a difference. I'll see you tomorrow. I love you, Madison. You're stronger than you know." After hanging up, Madison allowed herself a moment of vulnerability. She pressed both hands to her stomach and let herself feel it all. The fear, the grief, the uncertainty, but also the hope. The tiny, fragile hope that maybe this child would be the best thing to ever happen to her. Binding. 2 weeks later, the Brightwave board held an emergency meeting. The media storm had shifted public opinion so dramatically that instead of firing Madison, they were begging her to stay on as a consultant and advisor to the new owners. Madison stood before them in the same conference room where she'd fired Ryan, looking at the faces of people who'd been ready to throw her away. "You wanted to remove me," she said without preamble. "You were ready to believe I was the problem, based on nothing but rumors and coordinated attacks from a criminal. You didn't stand by me, you didn't trust me, so why should I help you now?" Robert Anderson, the board chairman, had the grace to look ashamed. "You're right, we failed you when you needed us most. All I can say is that we were trying to protect the company." "I was the company," Madison interrupted, "and you threw me away at the first sign of trouble. So no, I won't be staying on as a consultant. I won't be advising the new owners. I'm done with Brightwave. I built it, I sold it, and now I'm walking away. You're on your own." She left before anyone could respond. It felt good. Final. In the elevator going down, Derek called. "How'd it go?" "I told them to handle it themselves. I'm done." "Good for you. Listen, I've been thinking, what if we started something new together? You, me, maybe bring Morgan on board. Use that $200 million from the sale to build something better than Brightwave." Madison stepped out into the Seattle afternoon. Rain was falling, as it always did, washing the streets clean. "What did you have in mind?" "A venture capital firm, but not a regular one that specifically funds women entrepreneurs who are going through rough patches, divorces, betrayals, corporate sabotage. We give them money and legal support and advice. We help them fight back and build something amazing." Madison stopped walking. The idea settled over her like a warm blanket. "That's brilliant. I know. I'm full of good ideas. So what do you say? Want to build something new?" Madison thought about the baby growing inside her, about the future stretching out unknown and terrifying and full of possibility, about taking her pain and turning it into purpose. "Yes," she said, "let's do it." 6 months passed in a blur of morning sickness, legal proceedings, and building something new. Ryan was convicted on 8 counts of fraud and 1 count of attempted murder. He got 15 years in federal prison, no possibility of parole for at least 10. His lawyer argued for leniency, claimed he'd made mistakes, but didn't deserve to lose his whole life. The judge disagreed, noting that Ryan had systematically destroyed multiple lives without remorse. Madison didn't attend the sentencing. She was too busy being pregnant and building second-wave ventures. They launched the firm 4 months after Ryan's arrest. Madison invested $50 million from the Brightwave sale. Derek brought his forensic accounting expertise, and Morgan joined in as COO, bringing his experience surviving his brother's evil to help other founders identify manipulation in their lives. Their first investment was in a woman named Rachel Torres, a biotech entrepreneur whose husband had tried to claim he invented her revolutionary medical device. Madison sat across from Rachel in the same coffee shop where she'd planned Brightwave 8 years earlier. "Why are you doing this?" Rachel asked. She was 32, exhausted, barely holding herself together. Madison saw her younger self in that face. "Because I know what it feels like to have someone try to take everything from you," Madison said. "And I know how hard it is to fight back alone, so you won't be alone. Second Wave will fund your legal fees, your operating costs, everything you need to keep building while you fight. In exchange, we take a 15% equity when you're ready for investment. That's incredibly generous. It's also good business. I believe in your technology, but more than that, I believe in you. You built that company while your husband pretended to help. I won't let him take it from you." Rachel started crying, relief and hope and gratitude all mixed together. By the time Madison was 7 months pregnant, Second Wave had invested in 8 companies, everyone led by a woman who'd been betrayed, everyone fighting to save what they'd built. Madison's apartment became a staging ground for strategy sessions, women gathering around her dining table, sharing battle plans and legal strategies and encouragement, building a community of survivors who refused to stay victims. "You're building something special," Sophia told her one evening. They had dinner once a week now, these two women who'd been through fire together. "Not just a company, a movement." "I'm building what I needed when I was fighting Ryan," Madison said. She pressed her hand to her belly, feeling the baby kick. "Strong kicks now, impossible to ignore. I'm making sure no one else has to fight alone." "Have you thought about names?" Madison smiled. "If it's a girl, Emma. If it's a boy, Daniel. My father's name. Your parents would be proud of you." "I hope so. I wish they were here to see this, to meet their grandchild." "They see it," Sophia said firmly. "Trust me. They see everything, and they're so proud." Yeah. At 8 months pregnant, Madison gave a speech at a Women in Tech conference. She stood on stage with her round belly unmistakable, wearing a professional dress that accommodated her changing body, and told her story. Not the sanitized version, not the everything worked out version, the real, messy, painful truth. "My ex-husband tried to destroy me," she said to 500 silent listeners. "He spent 8 years systematically stealing from me, lying to me, manipulating me. He tried to take my company, my reputation, my sense of self. And you know what? He almost succeeded." She paused, one hand on her belly. "But here's what I learned. Being broken doesn't mean being defeated. Sometimes you have to lose everything to figure out what really matters. I lost my company, I lost my marriage, I lost years of my life to a lie. But I gained something more valuable. I gained myself back. I gained the knowledge that I'm strong enough to survive anything. And I gained the opportunity to help other women fight their own battles. In 2 weeks, I'm going to have a baby. A baby whose father is in federal prison. A baby who will grow up knowing their dad tried to destroy their mom. That's not ideal. That's not what I planned when I took a pregnancy test 9 months ago, excited to surprise my husband with the news. But this baby will also grow up knowing their mom is strong, that their mom fought back, that their mom took her worst moment and turned it into something meaningful. And maybe that's worth more than a conventional family." The room erupted in applause, standing ovation, women crying, nodding, sharing looks of recognition. After her speech, dozens of women approached Madison, shared their stories, asked for advice, requested funding. Madison listened to every single one, gave out business cards, made promises to help. This was her purpose now. Emma Rose Carter was born on a rainy Tuesday morning in April, 3 weeks after Madison's 39th birthday. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Perfect tiny fingers and toes. Dark hair like her father, but her mother's eyes, green with flecks of gold. Madison held her daughter for the first time and felt her entire world shift. This tiny person, innocent and perfect, born from such ugly circumstances, but somehow transcending them. "Hello, sweet girl," Madison whispered. "I'm your mama, and I promise you, I promise, I will love you enough for two parents. You'll never feel like you're missing anything. Her mother sat beside the hospital bed, crying happy tears. She's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Have you decided if you'll tell Ryan? Madison looked at her daughter's tiny face. Eventually, when Emma is old enough to understand, I'll tell her the truth about her father. Age-appropriate truth. She deserves to know where she came from. But Ryan, he doesn't get to be a father to her. Not after what he did. Not ever. Good, her mother said fiercely. That man doesn't deserve to even see her picture. Sophia visited that afternoon bringing flowers and a teddy bear. She's beautiful, Madison. Thank you for everything. I couldn't have survived this without you. Yes, you could have, but I'm glad you didn't have to. Sophia sat carefully on the edge of the hospital bed. I have news. Jessica reached out. She wants to apologize, wants to ask for forgiveness. Madison felt old anger stir. What did you tell her? That it's not my place to respond. If you want to hear her out, I can arrange it. If you want nothing to do with her, that's fine too. Your choice completely. Madison looked at her sleeping daughter. Tell her no. I don't forgive her. Maybe someday, but not now, not yet. She helped Ryan try to destroy me, and I'm not ready to give her absolution just because she feels guilty. Fair enough. Derek visited that evening, bringing dinner because he knew hospital food was terrible. She looks just like you, he said, peering at Emma's tiny face. She looks like Ryan, Madison corrected. No, she looks like herself. She's not him, Madison. She's her own person. Don't let his evil touch her. Madison thought about that long after Derek left. He was right. Emma was her own person, not defined by her father's crimes or her mother's pain. Just Emma, perfect and innocent and new. The first year of Emma's life passed in a blur of sleepless nights and unconditional love and building second wave while learning to be a mother. Madison hired a nanny but still insisted on being present for every milestone. First smile, first laugh, first time sleeping through the night. Second Wave Ventures thrived. They'd invested in 20 companies now, with a total portfolio value of $200 million. 3 companies had been acquired, giving their founders the financial security to move forward with their lives. 5 more were on track for similar exits. Madison's apartment became too small, so she bought a house in Queen Anne, smaller than the Georgetown Craftsman she had lost, but hers. Truly hers. She decorated Emma's nursery in soft blues and greens, avoiding pink because she refused to let her daughter grow up thinking she had to fit into predetermined boxes. Ryan sent letters from prison. Madison burned them all without reading. She changed her name back to her maiden name, Madison Carter, not Madison Mitchell. Emma's birth certificate listed only one parent, Madison Carter, father unknown. It was a legal fiction, but it protected Emma from being connected to Ryan's crimes. On Emma's first birthday, Madison threw a party at her house. Not a huge event, just close friends, chosen family. Derek and Morgan brought presents. Sophia brought a college savings bond. Madison's mother brought handmade baby clothes and grandmother's love. They sang happy birthday to a baby who didn't understand but smiled anyway. They ate cake and watched Emma smash her face into her own tiny cake, getting frosting everywhere. They celebrated not just Emma's life, but survival. New beginnings, second chances. That night, after everyone left and Emma was asleep in her crib, Madison stood at her window looking out at Seattle. The city glittered under a rare clear sky, stars visible for once. She thought about the woman she'd been 2 years ago, the woman who'd fired her husband at a Christmas party, who'd thought that was her lowest moment. She'd been so naive, so unprepared for the war that followed. But she'd survived. More than survived. She'd won. Not the way she expected, but maybe in a better way. She'd lost her company, but built something more meaningful. She'd lost her marriage, but gained herself. She'd lost her innocence, but gained wisdom. And she gained in Emma, this perfect, beautiful child who would never know her father, but would grow up surrounded by love. Madison pressed her hand to the window, feeling the cool glass. Thank you, she whispered to the universe. To her parents and whatever came after death. To herself, thank you for the strength to survive. Thank you for the chance to build something new. Behind her, Emma made a small sound in her sleep. Madison turned to look at her daughter, this tiny person who represented hope and new beginnings and unconditional love. "We're going to be okay," Madison whispered. "More than okay. We're going to be amazing." And for the first time in 2 years, she believed it. 2 years after Ryan's arrest, Madison stood in front of a different audience. Not tech executives or investors, not media or employees, but 30 women, all founders, 80 survivors of betrayal, all funded by Second Wave Ventures. They met quarterly at a retreat center in the San Juan Islands. 3 days of strategy sessions, emotional support, and community building. Madison called it the Phoenix Project because every woman there had risen from ashes. Emma, now 2 years old, played in the corner with Morgan's daughter. He'd gotten married a year ago to a woman who knew his whole history and loved him anyway. The children built block towers and knocked them down, laughing at the destruction and immediate rebuilding. "Let me tell you what nobody tells you about revenge," Madison said to the group. They sat in a circle, coffee cups in hand, rain pattering against the windows. Because this was Washington, and it always rained. Revenge feels good for about 5 minutes, then it feels empty, because revenge is about them, making them hurt the way they hurt you. But healing? Healing is about you, about building something better than what they tried to destroy. A woman named Catherine Miller spoke up. She was 35, CEO of a biotech startup, fighting her ex-husband's attempt to claim he invented her groundbreaking cancer treatment. "But don't you want him to suffer? Don't you want Ryan to regret what he did?" "Of course I do," Madison admitted. "I'm human, but wanting him to suffer and needing him to suffer are different things. I don't need Ryan's regret to be okay. His regret, or lack of it, doesn't define my success." "Where is he now?" another woman asked. "Still in prison. He has 11 more years. I haven't talked to him since the trial. I don't plan to." "Does Emma ask about him?" Madison looked at her daughter, building towers with Morgan's daughter. "She's 2. She doesn't understand the concept of fathers yet. But when she's old enough to ask, I'll tell her age-appropriate truth, that her father made bad choices and hurt people, and sometimes people face consequences for their actions. I won't poison her against him, but I won't lie to protect him either." "That's generous," someone said. "It's not for him," Madison clarified. "It's for her. Emma deserves to grow up without carrying her father's shame. His crimes are his, not hers." After the session, Madison walked on the beach with Sophia. The attorney came to every retreat now, offering pro bono legal advice to all of Second Wave's portfolio companies. "You've built something remarkable," Sophia said, watching waves crash against the shore. "We've built it," Madison corrected. "I couldn't have done any of this without you, without Derek and Morgan, without all the women who trusted me to help them fight." "How are you really doing? Not CEO Madison or Mother Madison, just you." Madison was quiet for a long time, thinking about the question. "I'm okay, most days. Some days are harder, when I think about the 8 years I wasted with Ryan, about how I missed every red flag. But then I remember that those 8 years led me here, to this, to Emma, and I wouldn't trade this for anything." "Not even Brightwave?" "Not even Brightwave. Turns out I was building the wrong thing for the right reasons. Now I'm building the right thing." "Have you thought about dating again?" Madison laughed. "God, no. I'm good being alone. I have Emma, I have my work, I have my community. That's enough." "For now," Sophia said gently. "But you're 39 years old, Madison. You deserve love. Real love, not the lie Ryan gave you." "Maybe someday, but I'm not looking. I'm content." She paused. "Actually, that's not quite true. I'm not content. Content sounds passive. I'm fulfilled. I'm building things that matter. I'm raising an incredible daughter. I'm helping other women win their battles. That's more than enough." Her phone buzzed. Text from Derek. "Emma Richardson's company just got acquired. $150 million deal. She's crying happy tears and wants to thank you personally." Emma, not Madison's daughter, but Emma Richardson, the MIT student who'd called her 3 years ago with an idea for fraud detection software. Madison had been her first investor. "Good news?" Sophia asked. "The best kind. One of our first investments just exited. $150 million acquisition. That's the 5th exit this year. 6th, Rachel's medical device company sold last month. And Catherine is in talks with 3 major pharma companies about her cancer treatment. Sophia smiled. You're not just funding companies anymore. You're changing the entire landscape for women entrepreneurs. That's the idea, one woman at a time. We're proving that being betrayed doesn't mean being beaten, that you can lose everything and still build something amazing. They returned to the retreat center for dinner. 30 founders, all at different stages of their journeys, all supporting each other. This was what community looked like. Messy, complicated, real but powerful. After dinner, Madison stood to make a toast, Emma in her arms now, the child's head heavy on her shoulder with exhaustion. 3 years ago, Madison began, I thought my life was over. I'd caught my husband cheating, fired him publicly, and thought that was the end of the story. But it wasn't the end. It was barely the beginning. What followed was the hardest period of my life. I lost my company, my reputation, my sense of self. I was pregnant and terrified and didn't know if I could survive. She pressed her cheek to Emma's hair. But I did survive. And standing here with all of you, I realized something. Ryan didn't destroy me. He freed me. He freed me from the illusion that I needed anyone's validation to be successful. He freed me from playing small. He freed me from the version of myself who thought love meant sacrificing everything. So here's to our freedom. Here's to the people who tried to break us and failed. Here's to building something better than they could ever imagine. And here's to each other, because we don't have to do this alone. They raised their glasses. The sound of survival, not loud or aggressive, but steady, certain, real. That night, Madison stood on the deck looking at the stars while Emma slept inside. Her phone rang. Unknown number, but she answered anyway. Is this Madison Carter? Yes, who is this? My name is Dr. Elizabeth Williams. I'm a professor at Stanford teaching a course on entrepreneurship and resilience. I'd love to have you speak to my class about your experience. Not just the betrayal, but what you built afterward. Madison smiled. I'd be honored. After the call, she stayed outside in the cool night air. The sky was clear for once, stars scattered across the darkness like diamonds. She thought about the girl she used to be, the one who'd started Brightwave in a garage, full of dreams and ambition and naive trust. She missed that girl sometimes, the innocent version who believed people were fundamentally good. But she didn't want to be that girl anymore. That girl couldn't have built Second Wave, couldn't have helped 30 women fight back against people trying to destroy them, couldn't have survived what Madison survived. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find out what really matters. For Madison, it was never about company size or valuation or headlines. It was about purpose, about using her pain to prevent someone else's, about turning betrayal into something meaningful. Ryan had wanted to destroy her. Instead, he'd created something better, a woman who knew her worth, who refused to be a victim, who built empires not for revenge but for redemption. Madison looked at the stars and thought about her parents, about everyone who'd believed in her before she believed in herself. I made it, she whispered to the sky. Not the way I planned, but I made it. The waves crashed against the shore. The wind carried salt and possibility. And Madison Carter, survivor of betrayal, builder of second chances, mother to a beautiful daughter, stood alone under the stars and felt complete. Not because she had everything, but because she had enough. Enough strength, enough purpose, enough peace, enough love. And that was more than Ryan ever took from her, more than he could ever take. Because the thing about breaking someone, sometimes you just teach them how to rebuild themselves stronger. Madison had rebuilt herself into something unbreakable. Emma stirred inside, making a small sound. Madison went to her daughter, lifted her from the portable crib, and held her close. Emma's small hand curled around Madison's finger with complete trust. I love you, Madison whispered, more than anything in this world. And I promise you, you're going to grow up strong and loved and free. You'll never know what it means to be small or afraid or powerless, because I'm going to show you how to be all the things I had to learn the hard way. Emma soared in her sleep, content, safe, loved. Outside, the stars continued their ancient pattern. Inside, a mother held her daughter and felt the weight of all they'd survived and all they would become. The second wave was just beginning, And this time, Madison Carter was ready for anything. 5 years later, Madison received a letter. It came through Sophia's office. Ryan's lawyer sent it with a request that Madison at least read it before destroying it. Madison almost threw it away without opening it. But Emma, now 7 years old, whip-smart and curious, asked, "What's that, Mama?" "A letter from someone I used to know." "Are you going to read it?" Madison looked at her daughter's face, so innocent, so untouched by the ugliness that had defined Madison's past. "Should I?" Emma shrugged, already losing interest. "I don't know. Sometimes people deserve second chances. You always say that when I fight with my friends." Out of the mouths of babes. Madison opened the letter. "Madison, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to even care that I'm writing this. But my counselor says need to take accountability. So here it is. I'm sorry, I was wrong about everything. I married you for the wrong reasons. I betrayed you in the worst possible way. I tried to take everything you'd built, and I justified it by telling myself I deserved it. That I was smarter than you, that you owed me. I was wrong. You didn't owe me anything. You were kind and brilliant and trusting, and I exploited all of it. I destroyed something beautiful because I was too broken to recognize what I had. I've spent 5 years in here thinking about what I did, about what I lost. Not the money or the company. I lost you. I lost the chance to be part of something real. I lost the chance to be a father to our daughter. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know I don't deserve anything from you. But I wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what I did. I see what I destroyed. And I'm sorry. You built something amazing after I tried to destroy you. Second Wave Ventures is brilliant. You're helping people the way I should have helped you. You're making the world better while I'm in here paying for making it worse. I hope Emma is happy. I hope she never knows what I did. I hope she grows up strong and kind like her mother. I hope you're happy too, Madison. You deserve happiness. You always did, Ryan." Madison read the letter twice. Then she folded it carefully and put it in her desk drawer. "Well," Emma asked, now curious again, "what did it say?" "Someone apologizing for hurting me a long time ago." "Did you forgive them?" Madison thought about it. "I don't know yet. Forgiveness is complicated, but I'm glad they apologized. It's good when people take responsibility for their mistakes." "Are you happy, Mama?" Madison looked at her daughter, this miraculous person who'd been born from such dark circumstances, but brought only light into Madison's life. She thought about Second Wave, now managing $500 million in assets and supporting 75 women-led companies. She thought about the community she'd built, the lives she'd changed, the difference she was making. "Yes, baby," Madison said, pulling Emma into a hug. "I'm very happy." "Good," Emma said simply, "because you're the best mama in the whole world." Madison held her daughter and thought about Ryan's letter. She might forgive him someday, or she might not. But either way, it didn't define her anymore. She'd built a life beyond his betrayal, a life full of purpose and love and meaning. And that was the sweetest revenge of all.